portion tonight will start on page 89 at the beginning of the chapter and will end at the very tippy top of page 91 where it says it might spoil matters. And are there any announcements?
Greetings, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and good to have...
September the 25th, I have 36 years of sobriety.
Wonderful.
I have 9 months today.
And we will share that during your secretary's report. That is fabulous, Lisa.
Greetings, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and welcome everyone. And if you're new to this meeting and you end up liking what we have to offer and would like to make us your online home group, you are more than welcome to do so. We would be happy to have you. Last weekend I attended Area 64 Assembly. It was very good, very productive. I have sent my GSR report to Trish. She will be sending it out here soon. I don't know what date, but for those of you who are registered home group members, keep your eyes open on your email. And let's see, we have pushed our upcoming group conscience to October 21st, I believe it is, right, Trish? And it will be at 6:30 on that Monday night. Whatever time zone that you're in that this meeting starts, that's what time it'll start, right here in this room. Please come and join us. If you're not a home group member, you're welcome to attend, but only home group members will have a vote. Just getting prepared for fourth quarter assembly that comes up in November as well. So one of the things that we will be making a decision on is financial distribution to the other entities of Alcoholics Anonymous in this group conscience, plus a few other things. So by all means, come and join us. There will be a trusted servants meeting the week before. We may have to do that on a Sunday, Trish. So, but we'll work on that. And that's what I got. So, and welcome to the Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of meditation followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing, is to not distract others or yourself. We suggest that we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. And a friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share, and we will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
From the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture, breathe in God, and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study.
Now let's bring in the monks to let the monks do what the monks do and enjoy your time with God, folks. And for those of you who wish, please help us open this meeting with our family's fog light prayer on your screen in front of you. Fog light prayer. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
And let's have our secretary's report. Come on in, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa, and I'm your recovered alcoholic secretary. I've asked Terry to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Terry.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm Terry, recovered alcoholic. Recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered, but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been stored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than his body. Page 23 of the Big Book. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the foreword to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
I don't think
Anyone?
don't think we have any, Lisa.
And the recovered alcoholics? These are your potential sponsors. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week?
Lisa and Linda.
Yeah, I have nine months today.
Hi, recovered addict alcoholic. My name is Ryan. I just celebrated 1 year on September 11th.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Wow,
Congratulations. Glad to have you here, brother.
Next week, next week I'll have 36 years on the 25th. Next week.
Well, that's great, Linda. Congratulations.
There you go, Ryan.
Unbelievable. That's a pretty one, too. Congrats.
And then you're going to have to wait for yours.
Anyone else?
Thanks, Trish. Thanks, Janet.
You're welcome.
If you should require a Big Book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a Big Book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in a chat. And thank you, and see you next week.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We appreciate your service tonight. Well done as always, and thank you, Pickled Chips, for reading the recovered statement. Let me get to where I need to be here. From chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 7. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 8. Please refer to page 562 of our book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And come on in, Shayna.
Hello, Shayna, recovered alcoholic, and traditionalist this week. We're doing Tradition 8, which states, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. So, in other words, AA is a program of service, and when a newcomer enters the program or reaches out to somebody in the program in crisis, help is extended in a free and non-professional manner. This is kind of ties into that theme, if you want to keep it, give your recovery away. Sharing your wisdom and insight gives hope and support to others on their journey. So AA is not like going to individual therapy where a clinician will guide the individual through the experience, but specifically relying on peer support. And there's no one in a position of power that can overthrow any goals. That also means that there isn't someone in position of power that members can defy. The meaning as far as forever remaining non-professional. So there are members of AA who identify as mental health and medical professionals. However, their profession does not apply when engaging in the AA program. So all support in AA is non-professional, and their professional roles do not apply when they participate in the program. I can personally speak on this because I am a healthcare provider, and the position in which my job is, I often come across patients or individuals undergoing withdrawal and maybe at their bottom, I don't know. But I can't walk into their room and say, hey, you know what, I'm the face of AA and I also work here and I'm going to hand you all of this information and, I'll become your sponsor, because that's not how that works. So I have to, keep my anonymity. When I'm a professional, I can provide resources, but I don't need to identify as an alcoholic and promote AA, because I'm not getting paid to be there. However, if I go to an AA meeting and perhaps I see that individual, my services as far as in AA could be extended if that were the right fit. So then there's also what are special workers. So Alcoholics Anonymous is a huge organization and has service centers throughout the country. These service centers take care of the administrative work. So where literature is distributed, meeting schedules are made, general inquiry calls are answered, And so all of these tasks require more labor than what typically the program volunteers provide. So to keep those essential services functioning, employees are hired, and that is allowed by Tradition 8. A little bit about importance of Tradition 8. The tradition protects the group and the group members. It protects the group by minimizing opportunities for controversy. So if one were to advise 12-step services for hire and gained a negative reputation, that negative reputation could then reflect on the group as a whole, kind of what I was explaining before. Group members are protected by knowing that their anonymity isn't at risk due to a fellow group member offering AA-related services. Also, Tradition 8 minimizes the possibility of group members choosing to rebel against someone who presents as a professional authority, like a doctor or a counselor. I know personally several healthcare providers, very well experienced, haven't got the first idea about addiction and alcoholism. So while there are leaderships in AA, leadership positions within AA, no individual leader has complete control over the group, and that is indeed by design. So finally, this tradition outlines clear boundaries of roles and transactions within the program. And how Tradition 8 connects with other traditions. Every tradition exists to protect the mission and the work of Alcoholics Anonymous. The other traditions include prioritizing the health of the group as the whole, allowing individual groups the ability to tailor the details of their message and, the details of their meetings, and strictly enforcing a policy of not accepting outside donations. Tradition 8 connects to each of the other traditions by projecting the individual who is seeking sobriety. It is safe to say that the power of the group would suffer significantly without Tradition 8. And that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Shana. Excellent job. Excellent job. Well done, and we look forward to seeing you next week for Tradition 9. And now it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of stuff said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as described in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the things we often hear is, take what you want and leave the rest. And Kenny's going to come in and tell us what the book actually has to say on the subject from page 17 in the third paragraph. Kenny, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
Thank you, Kenny. As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight, we have no recap because we are beginning a new chapter, but we will screen share our blue page, which will give you some background on the chapter, which will be Chapter 7, Working with Others. And then our study portion, which will begin on page 89, will be read by Linda. And after she finishes her pages, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting at our study portion that Linda read, and the answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a one-sentence answer split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is we are going to read the material once through and then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the studied material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have spiritual experiences with this information, you are free to share. Please keep your share on topic and try to keep it under 5 minutes. And at the 5-minute mark, you may hear a timer beep, or you may see a cute little puppy pop up in the screen to let you know that your time is finished.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example with a sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
And how we arrived at this point, on January 7th, this coming January 7th, we will be celebrating our 5th anniversary of this group being in existence. And it started right here in my living room, kind of my living room and my kitchen, with tables set up looking like a meeting hall with 12 other alcoholics. And that's how it originated. COVID hit, and we eventually went the way of 100% virtual, which is how we are now. This is a 94-week Big Book study from beginning to end, and we start on the title page. We go through the prefaces, the preface, all of the forewords, the doctor's opinion, Bill's story, and each and every chapter with the question and answer format, just as we have done. In the early chapters of the book, it is suggested by the little asterisks on the page that we visit the spiritual experience, and we do that 3 different times. So once we get to page 164, we then do about 8 weeks on Dr. Bob's Nightmare, and we, through the question and answer format, 2 standalone weeks on the traditions themselves through the question and answer format, and then we round it all out in week 94 with a standalone week of the spiritual experience. And then we go back and we cycle right back over again, and it has been a joy and an honor to do this. I will say this, we are proofreading for the study one more time for the next 13 weeks ahead of this cycle, and anyone who would like to join us is more than welcome to join us for our proofreading sessions. You will be more than welcome to do that. In the last 5 years, this group, God has done some amazing things with this group, like the podcast, becoming a registered group, becoming part of service, and all of the things that we do. And one of the reasons that we podcast is because we have friends that live in other parts of the world that come, and they still get to participate by hearing what it is that we have to offer in this group. So we thank you all so much for that. Back to you, Trish.
Thanks. Before we start the blue page, we will need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised if you would like to be one of our answer readers. And please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and onto our YouTube channel. And are you sharing the blue page, or am I?
I am.
Okay.
Because then I have to wait for you to scroll. So, you know.
True.
Okay, so this is the blue page, and this is the part you guys don't have in your book. You won't be able to find it in your book, but it does come from our study guide. Week 56, the blue page, Chapter 7, Working with Other, pages 89 through 103. Now comes our primary purpose. We have ended our debate as to whether or not there is a God as we understood him through steps 1, 2, and 3. We put an end to the debates and confusion that goes on in our heads through steps 4, 5, 6, and 7. We have put an end to the disputes and disharmony with those about us through steps 8 and 9. We learned how to clear our minds of resentments, fear, selfishness, dishonesty, etc. through step 10. We learned how to talk to God, prayer, and try.
What was that?
Hang on.
That was.
Gotta mute Terry. And let me start that over. We learned how to talk to God, prayer, and how to listen to God, meditation, through step 11. We are ready to go to work. Having done our work as directed, we have been blessed with the spiritual awakening / experience. We have had a personality change sufficient to bring to personality change sufficient to recover from alcoholism. Now we go to work with our program. If we truly appreciate what God has done for us, we will show him our gratitude by the way we begin to repay our debt to him and all of those who have made it possible to live a life filled with peace of mind and real purpose. Chapters 7, 8, and 9, 10, and 11 give us the information we need to begin to learn how to do that. Our first responsibility is to the alcoholic who is still suffering from alcoholism, the newcomer. Chapter 7 gives us clear-cut directions on where to find the sick ones, how to qualify them, how to help the serious drinkers understand what alcoholism is and determine if they in fact might be an alcoholic. We are then given directions of how to sponsor them into sobriety. Those of us who are willing to apply the experience and knowledge revealed in this chapter will be blessed with many friends and realize the truth, the true joy of living. It is an experience we must not miss. If we do, they will very likely return to drinking and may never have another chance at sobriety. Notice rather than sufficient change, notice the rather significant change in the wording of this chapter. Through the first 6 chapters, the word we is used extensively. He now begins using the word you. He points his finger at each of us to make it clear as to whose responsibility it is to carry the message to other alcoholics. It is the responsibility of each of us to protect our sobriety by searching out the still sick and suffering alcoholic and then go to them with an attitude of love and service. It is easier to stay sober than it is to sober up. Working with others is our insurance against returning to drink. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. And Linda, come on in now with our study for this evening.
My name is Linda. I am an alcoholic. Working with Others, Chapter 7, page 89. Practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail.
Remember, they are very ill. Life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. Perhaps you are not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. You can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals. They will be they will be only glad to assist you. Don't start out as a evangelist. I can never pronounce that word, evangelist or reformer. Unfortunately, a lot of prejudice exists and you will be handicapped if you arouse it. Ministers and doctors are competent and you can learn much from them if you wish. But it happens that because your own drinking experience, you can be uniquely useful to other alcoholics. So cooperate, never criticize. To be helpful is our only aim. And when you discover a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, find out all you can about him. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste your time trying to persuade him. You may spoil a later opportunity. This advice is given for his family also. They should be patient, realizing that they are dealing with a sick person. If there is any indication that he wants to stop, have a good talk with the person most interested in him, usually his wife. Get an idea of his behavior and his problems, his background, the seriousness of his condition, and his religious leanings. You need this information to put yourself in his place, to see how you would like him to approach you if the tables were turned. Sometimes it is wise to wait till he goes on a binge. The family may object to this, but unless he is in a dangerous physical condition, it is better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he is very drunk. Unless he is ugly and the family needs your help, wait for the end of the spree, or at least for a lucid interval. Then let his family or a friend ask him if he wants to quit for good, and if he wants to go to any extreme to do so. If he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person who has recovered. You should be described to him as one of a fellowship who as part of their own recovery, try to help others, and who will be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you. If he does not want to see you, never force yourself upon him. Never should the family hysterically plead with him to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you. They should wait for the end of his next drinking bout. You might place this book where he can see it in the interval, and here no specific rule can be given. The family must decide these things, but urge them. I'm going to say that again. Here no specific rule can be given. The family must decide these things, but urge them not to be over anxious, for that might spoil manners.
Thank you, Linda. And we've got 4 hands up. Our batting order will be Kenny, Linda, William, Terry. So Linda is already unmuted. The other 3 of you can go ahead and unmute. And Jamie will be coming in with a couple of comments throughout. So Kenny, you are first. Practical experience shows that, what does practical experience show us?
Practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intense work with other alcoholics.
And here comes the first of the comments. Why did we come to Alcoholics Anonymous in the first place?
And Linda, if all else fails, do what?
It works when other activities fail.
Thank you.
Another comment. What are some activities that fail? If we are just going to meetings and not being of service, not opening the book, not talking to a sponsor, and not praying, are these some of the things that are failing? Next comment. Shouldn't all of these things be included and working together to achieve permanent, lasting sobriety?
And William, a two-part question. We carry what and to whom?
This is our 12-step suggestion. Carry this message to the alcoholic.
Thank you. And Terry, who else is able to help the suffering alcoholic?
You can help when no one else can.
Next comment, only an alcoholic knows how another alcoholic feels. Normal drinkers cannot do it.
And back to you, Kenny. Why are you able to do this?
You can secure their confidence when others fail.
Thank you. Linda, why is it so important from their viewpoint?
You can secure their confidence with others. Oh, wait a minute. Did he say that already?
He did. You're right. Remember.
Okay, remember. Remember, they are very ill.
Thank you. And William, what will happen to your life?
Life will take on new meanings.
Thank you. And Terry, what happens as the result of us doing what we must do to assure our sobriety?
To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss.
Absolutely. And Kenny, back to you. Are you willing to take a risk on missing what this is really all about?
We know you will not want to miss it.
Not at all. And Linda, what is the bright spot of our lives?
Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives.
First of two comments. As a sponsor, it is part of my responsibility and duty to continue to reach out to whomever I happen to be working with. Second comment. Do we also have a responsibility to reach out not only to newcomers, but also to others in the fellowship who may have many years of sobriety if we can be helpful?
Thank you. And William, it is hard to believe, but it may seem that some of us do not what?
Perhaps you are not acquainted with any drinkers who wants to recover.
Thank you. And Terry, where do the first 100 suggest you start?
You can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals.
Comment. Can you think of any other possibilities?
And Kenny, why would you think they might be glad to help you with your search?
They will be only too glad to assist you.
And Linda, better not do what?
Don't start out as being an evangelist or reformer.
Thank you. And William, what 2 reasons are given? 2 sentences.
Unfortunately, a lot of prejudice exists. You will be handicapped if you arouse it.
Thank you. And Terry, a 2-part question. Who can we learn something from, and what can you do that they can't?
Ministers and doctors are competent, and you can learn much from them if you wish, but it happens that because of your own drinking experience, you can be uniquely useful to other alcoholics.
Absolutely. And Kenny, so we do what?
So cooperate, never criticize.
Thank you. And Linda, what is our real purpose?
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit lost. What paragraph is that?
Bottom of page 89 should be helpful.
I'm going to pass. Let the next person go.
Okay. William, what is our real purpose?
To be helpful is our only aim.
Thank you.
First of two comments. Remember our real purpose stated on page 77. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. Second comment. Now we are going to learn how to qualify a serious drinker for a 12-step call.
And Terry, when you learn of a prospect, do what first?
When you discover a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, find out all you can about him.
Thank you. And Kenny, when do we not bother to talk to him?
If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade him.
And Linda, why is that?
You may spoil a later opportunity.
Correct. And William, who else should know this?
This advice is given for his family also.
Absolutely. And Terry, what position should the family take?
They should be patient, realizing they are dealing with a sick person.
And Kenny, if they indicate they have a desire to stop drinking, what is a good first thing to do?
If there's any indication that he wants to stop, have a good talk with the person most interested in him, usually his wife.
Thank you. And why would we want to do this, Linda?
Get an idea of his behavior, his problems, his background, the seriousness of his condition, and his religious leanings.
Thank you. And how can this help you, William?
You need this information to put yourself in his place.
Keep going.
Okay. You need this information to put yourself in his place to see how you would like him to approach you if the table was turned.
Thank you. And Terry, sometimes it is a good idea to do what?
Sometimes it is wise to wait until he goes on a bench.
Hi, Ryan. I'll give you the next question. Who is going to resist this idea? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Unmute.
The family may object to this, but unless he is in dangerous physical condition, it is better to risk it.
Thank you. And Kenny, two-part question. Don't do what, and unless what?
Don't deal with him if he is very drunk, unless he is ugly and the family needs your help.
Thank you. And Linda, when is a good time to ask a prospect a very important question?
Wait for the end of the spree, or at least for a lucid interval.
Thank you. And William, what question should the serious drinker be asked?
In his family, a friend asks him if he wants to quit for good, and if he would go to any extreme to do so.
Thank you. And Terry, if the prospect says yes to the question, what should the family do then?
He says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person who has recovered.
Thank you. And Ryan, a two-part question. How should you be described by the prospect, and what conditions should be met by the prospect?
You should be described to him as one of a fellowship who, as part of their recovery, try to help others, and who will be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you.
Thank you so much. And Kenny, should we go talk to the prospect whether or not they want to see us?
If he does not want to see us, never force yourself upon him.
Correct. And Linda, how should the family react if the drinker says no?
Neither should the family hysterically plead with him to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you.
Thank you. And William, what should they wait for?
He should wait for the end of his next drinking bout.
Thank you. And Terry, what could we do in the meantime if it seems appropriate? 2 sentences, please.
You might place this book where he can see it in the interval. Here, no specific rule can be given.
Thank you. And Ryan, what must the family decide?
They must decide these things, but urge them.
Oh, that's it. And Kenny, you got the first question and the last question, and it's a two-parter. Encourage the family to what, and why is this?
but urge them not to be over anxious, for that might spoil matters.
And closing it out with 2 comments. Notice that at this point we are still talking to the family. We have not yet made contact with the alcoholic. Second comment. This chapter, Working with Others, also allows us to have the ability to work with families as well as the alcoholic. It was the experience of the first 100 that sometimes we work with the family as well. Remember, when this book was published, our Al-Anon family groups had not yet been established. Even so, they may prefer to work with us as a recovered alcoholic that they know, rather than an unknown entity of Al-Anon. Thank you, folks. Great job.
Thank you, everybody. And we're now going to open the floor for sharing. If you have experience with the portion of the book that was just read, please feel free to put up your hand and share. And also be mindful of your time, that others may have their hands raised and are waiting to share. And just a friendly reminder as we share, absence of profanity offends no one. And we're now open for comments, questions, and observations, faith and spiritual experiences based on what was just read. And Linda, come on in.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm an alcoholic. And I just wanted to say this is a very good chapter, Working with Others. It's very good. It's good because it's a blueprint on how to deal with alcoholics when you want to work with them. You know, when you're trying to help them get into the rooms, you know, and showing them how they can get sober. There's nothing we can say to make a person stop drinking. There's nothing that we can say to make a person start drinking. But one thing we can do is be an example, you know, to be patient, to be tolerant, not to judge a person, you know, not to talk to them but as they say, from any spiritual, you know, hilltop. We don't have to shove our beliefs down their throat. When they come in, first thing they're confused. They're tired, you know, and they're beaten down. One thing that I say when people say, oh, this is my first time at this meeting, if it's on Zoom, I'll DM them and I say, you know, the war is over. It's time to recover. It's time to heal. Here's my number. As soon as I say that, I get so many responses. Some people are serious, some people are not. Some people are habitual relapsers. And I'm not going to say they're never going to stop, because I can't judge anyone and say that, but they have done it over multiple years, you know, but they too can stop drinking. They can get sober if they want to. And this is what one man told me. He said, when you hear alcoholics say, oh, you know, I'm drinking, I don't know why I'm drinking, I just can't stop, I can't make, you know, blah, blah, this, I can't make myself stop, blah, blah, it's because they don't want to. When you hear that whining, it's because they don't want to. Persons say, I can't stop drinking. They're really basically saying, I don't want to stop drinking. One lady sat in the meeting and said, I can't make myself stop drinking. You know what? Even if it's true, you can turn around and you can reach to your higher power, to your God, and you can pray for that strength that God can put through you where you will stop drinking. Because I know that I experienced something like that. I was like, damn, when am I going to stop relapsing? When am I going to stop drinking? I actually wanted to, but I didn't even have the power of choice. It was just a perpetual vicious cycle. But little by little, it happened. But I was calling out to God, and I was reaching out to other people. And I was struggling, and I was fighting it, and it was not good. I was having the shakes. I would not want to drink. I would drink. You know, it was tough. But guess what? It happened. I got the 30 days, and I never had to drink again. No one said it's going to be easy getting sober. Staying sober, it's a lot easier staying sober than getting sober. I know that. It's a lot easier staying here in the rooms than getting in the rooms. You know, so I have to remember that. I have to keep that up front when I'm helping other individuals. And I have to be able to identify who is willing to get sober and who isn't. If a person is not willing to get sober and I'm working with them, you know, I fall back. They can still call me. They'll have my number. I'm not going to block them. Not unless they got rude or crazy. Then you get the block. But, if you're just not ready, I leave you alone. There was one lady, a friend of mine tells me, oh, here's my cousin. Here's her number. I want you to help her. And basically he was saying, I want you to get her sober. She was an alcoholic, And she gets on the phone. She wants to talk about everything in the sun except her alcoholism. And every time I get to it, she would talk about her job, how she got this government job, how she got a house, how she got this, how she got that. But it came out that she had a DWI. Her wife left her, and she was in trouble at her job. She couldn't she couldn't go to the liquor store and buy her liquor, so she had it delivered to her. I mean, all the stuff was coming out. And I remember she made this remark. I don't want to be like you. I said, excuse me? She said, no, I don't want to be like you. What did she say? I don't want to be like you. 60-something years old, an alcoholic in AA. And I just listened to her, and I thought about it, and I said, now how should I respond? And I said, well, then you respond. And I told her, I said, you know what? I said, you don't want to be like me. I said, so let's take a look at you. Let's take a look at me. I said, I don't have a DWI. My spouse has not left me. I'm not in trouble on my job. I said, I'm not on the phone drunk every time someone's talking to me. I said, I have multiple years of sobriety. And look at my age. People that drink, they seem to think it's a misconception. Wow, you've been in AA that long, you must really be bad. You must really be bad off. That's the mentality of the alcoholic that's still drinking. And I had to let her know, let's take a look at you, and let's take a look at me. I said, now you don't want to be like me. I said, because you don't want to get sober. I said, you don't want to stop drinking. I said, if anything, I don't want to be like you, 50-something years old and all that trouble and still drinking. I said, did you get your liver checked out? Because you probably have cirrhosis of the liver right about now. And she got real quiet. Because it hit her. I had to remind her, look at all the trouble you're going through. I'm not going through that trouble. I'm not going through none of that trouble. And she want to try to act like she's a little better. Well, I got a government job. I wouldn't care what job you got. I'm not on the phone to talk to you about your job and your things and all the stuff that you have. And that's the first thing these people do, these alcoholics do, when they're, they cry out for help, but then when you're ready to give them help, then they want to come up with their pride. Well, I'm not really an alcoholic. And I told her, I said, maybe you don't, I said, maybe you're not ready for the program. I said, when you're ready for the program, give me a call. I said, until then, I said, I'm not really going to call you anymore. And she said, why? I said, because we can sing together, but we can't. I said, what is it? We can sing together, but we can't talk together. I said, you talk over me. I said, you yell. You never want to talk about recovery. And I said, and I suspect that a lot of times you're drunk. I said, I told her, I said, you're spiraling down and things is getting worse and worse. I said, and sooner or later, I said, I don't want to say this. I'm not trying to be mean, but you will lose your house and you will lose your job. I said, and then at the end, you're going to lose yourself. Maybe your life. I said, that's where alcohol is going to take you. And I left her with that. A while ago, a year later, it was during COVID, and there was it was on Zoom. And that guy that told me he wanted me to help her, because he sort of got perturbed, because she must have told him, well, she's not going to call me no more. He got kind of perturbed with me and said something smart. And I left him alone, like, whatever. That's your family. I'm not getting involved with you and your family. She's not ready. But he didn't understand that. Then he tried to get someone else to help her. Same response. And they did the same thing. And then I'm going to wrap it up. And then it was on Zoom. And you could hear her. She was drunk as a skunk. She's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to stop drinking. Yeah, Kurt, I'll stop. I'm going to stop drinking. Oh, hi, Linda. I'm going to stop drinking. She was getting worse and worse. And this is the whole thing about when you're dealing with people, when you're working with them. They either want to get sober or they don't. And no one's perfect. Because I went through my stuff too. And my sponsor stuck with me. And I'm glad she did. Because if she didn't, I wouldn't be here now. So we don't easily give up on people. We give them chances. We give them chances. But if they are not ready, it has to be some point where we let go and we move on to the next prospect. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Linda. Ryan, come on in.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Recovered drug addict, alcoholic. My name is Ryan. Good to be here. Thanks, Jamie, and everyone putting the meeting on. This is, this is sort of new to me. I'm probably 8 months off of fifth step, and I have a few guys that I'm currently working with, and I have a very good mentor as far as sponsorship goes, because the guy that works with me is he's perfect for me, and he's just got a very loving, kind, soft approach. It's all, the directions are all here. You know what I mean? And I go right to the forward when God put these people in my life, because this has this has nothing to do with me. I'm not just reading about a spiritual experience. I'm having one, and for alcoholics in the grips, that's attractive. It was for me when I wanted to. Linda was just talking about you gotta want this thing a little bit. So I know I did. I was beaten into a sense of reasonableness, and for me to humble myself and ask a man to read a book with me was, I was in big trouble. But I go right to the forward. My phone number's on this page, and we read it earlier before, at the beginning of the meeting, and it just simply says, "We of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from what? Well, from hopelessness, and have been restored to sanity, right? Because the spiritual malady has been overcome within me for one day, and I have been recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body." So then, I go right to the page that we read. That's like my next move whenever I pick up somebody new. Real purpose, like Jamie was just talking about. I am uniquely qualified to help other alcoholics, because I not only have read the 87 pages that lead up to this, or the 88 pages that lead up to that statement, but I'm living them. You know what I mean? I've identified with the first 63 and a half pages the description of the real alcoholic. I followed the directions. I engaged in the prayers. I avoided the warnings, or tried to avoid the warnings. Boom, what do you know? I get the promises. So that's been my experience as far as leading up to this page right here. And it's very straightforward, practical experience. This isn't a theory. This is experience. When a friend of mine talks about climbing a mountain, if you want to climb a mountain, for me, practical experience shows me that I want to find somebody who has climbed this mountain, right? I don't take directions from somebody who hasn't been where I'm trying to go. So, referring to my sponsor, he has climbed the mountain. He doesn't talk about climbing the mountain. He doesn't read a book about climbing the mountain. He didn't run down to Lppbbsg and buy mountain climbing. He climbed the mountain, and he has this practical experience. And that's what this alcoholism thing. And it's, like I said, it's very straightforward. Nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. That's very straightforward. I didn't have to look up anything in that sentence. Nothing. That's it. Zero. That's what ensures my immunity from drinking today. It's working with other guys and showing them this stuff that my sponsor showed me, going through these pages, and getting vulnerable with these guys. I was with a guy that he just got out of a joint. He did 10 years upstate, and I was like getting emotional reading "There Is a Solution" with him. When it says, I'm going to paraphrase here real quick. The most important fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that God lives in our life, in our mind, in a way which is indeed miraculous. Now, I got him, rocketed. We have found much of heaven and have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence. And I get when it's one-on-one with this guy and another guy I was reading with, I get emotional reading that, because what an experience to be rocketed, right? And that's what it is, man. We show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered. That's the main purpose of this book, to show them, not to tell them, not to theorize, not to go down to friggin' Lppbbsg and buy some mountain gear. You know what I mean? We climb the mountain, And this is the deal, and that's, good sponsorship is so important. Like if I have any questions that I can't answer, with the help and guidance of God, I use one of God's instruments. I call my sponsor, I call a spiritual advisor, I call other people that have practical experience, not theories, experience. And that's been the deal for me. And another thing I go right to is cooperate. Never, ever, ever criticize. To be helpful is my only aim. When I start getting, start comparing or judging or anything else, that is not effective. Trust me when I tell you this, because it didn't work for me. I got a family member that's been in this program for the better part of 30 years, and he's spiritually sick still. You know what I mean? He don't drink, go to meetings. He's that guy. He doesn't even ask for help. He just self-willed this thing, and getting off topic, but that's just not going to be effective for the real alcoholic. Like, you can't, like, for me, I'm defiant by nature. That's part of my spiritual malady. Like, I don't want to take advice. I need to be shown this stuff. I need practical experience from someone who has climbed the mountain. And, like I said, good sponsorship is huge. I got one on this meeting that I would absolutely go to if I had any questions. And, yeah, that's the deal. And my sponsor's like, you climbed the mountain now, Ryan. Well, what do we do now, Rich? He said, get your ass back in the valley and stop pulling people up this thing. You know what I mean? Because I have the experience. I continue to gain it as far as, like, not just reading about a spiritual experience, living it. You know what I mean? Living these principles, watching him, watching others. And, I get kind of crazy, man, around here sometimes with open AA, guys raising their hand, offering sponsorship. Like, you guys don't even know where the directions are, man. Like, fall back, So these, from 88 to 103, there's a set of clear-cut directions, just like everywhere else in the book. How to continue to recover from alcoholism, stay recovered, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Stay recovered. It's just for one day I have recovered from alcoholism, and that's just my experience because, when I wake up in the morning, I do the drill, man. I ask God to direct my thinking. I ask for freedom from self-will. I start with a 3rd-step prayer, go to 7th-step prayer, 11th-step prayer. I have some personal prayers. I pray for others. I never pray for my own selfish ends. I just stick to the script, man. If it's not in the book, I'm not doing it. And that's another thing that was told to me, and I'll wrap up with this, is like, my sponsor told me 3 things. I'll never tell you to do nothing that ain't in the book. I'll never work harder than you at this thing, which Linda had mentioned. Like, I'm not chasing you down, and I'm not going to be mad if you ghost me. You know what I mean? Like, this is your journey. I'm just a trail guide. If you want to, go off the rails for a little while, cooperate, never criticize. To be helpful is my only aim, and to criticize is not helpful, and that's my only aim. So, this is just, what a wonderful experience. Life took on new meaning for me when I started working with other guys, and man, this sums it all up right here. Frequent contact with newcomers, you guys, each other. That's the freaking bright spot of my life, man. Jamie and everyone else, Trish, and the secretary's boy, everything was phenomenal tonight. And Linda, was good to hear you. Look forward to hearing from everybody else. I hope everyone has a great night.
Thank you, Ryan. Alyssa, come on in.
Thank you, Trish. Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. So I know we ended last week on the last paragraph of 88. And it says there is more action. Faith without works is dead. The next chapter is entirely devoted to step 12. And step 12 is having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. Try to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. I work with someone else, not just to help them, but it's helping me. At the end of the day, the only person that it keeps sober is me. I can't control anybody else. Criticizing them won't help. Telling them what their future is going to be won't help. I'm not God. I quit playing God back on page 63. And I'm so thankful for that. But, these promises, these 12-step promises, life will take on a new meaning to watch people recover. I get an opportunity several times a month to give people an introduction, understanding of these 12 steps. The way they did it back in the early days, you know, and it works. But to watch that light come on, you know, it's like, I remember coming in here. I remember being that hopeless. And I need that reminder. Because at the end of the day, I'm still an alcoholic. I may have recovered. In my mind, my alcoholism wants me to forget what brought me in here. You know, because there are times when I hear things that I'm just like, totally turn me off. And then I have to pause and I have to pray. And, you know, God always directs me to exactly where I need to be. And, you know, I had that opportunity today. I got to spend 4 hours with a group of people. And yes, I mean, I saw the light come on and, you know, they sat up a little straighter by the end of it. But most importantly, I'm going to go to bed sober tonight, and more was revealed to me. And that's the only thing at the end of the day that I have control over. Is no. Are you giving those to the kids? Okay. And sorry, got distracted. And yes, we do it to carry this message to another alcoholic, but it's to carry the message. It's not to give dictates. And even when I work with other people, you know, I think about if I was approached, you know, how would I want to be approached in a loving and tolerant way? And that's our code. You know, that's where I get to live, is in step 10s. You know, love and tolerance of others is our code. And, you know, that doesn't mean I'm a doormat. But that does mean that I'm respectful to others. And I'm not a preacher, thank God. You know, I'm just here to, because as a result, as having a spiritual awakening, which, you know, is a profound outlook, a profound change in my outlook to life, my reaction to life. As a result of these steps, I get to carry the message, you know, and if I'm giving a message that's anything outside of the black and white that starts on page XI 164, and I'm imposing my will. And, you know, I know what it's like to live like that, and I don't want to do that anymore. You know, the promise on the title page of our book, how many thousands of men and women have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. You know, our book is meant to be suggestive only, so I can make the suggestions to other people when I work with them, and that's what I do. You know, but I say in this book of suggestions, there's a lot of must. And with that, there's a ton of promises that come true for me if I follow the must, if I follow the outline, the clear-cut directions as they're outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm just so thankful today for the clarity, because you know, I say the 5th step promises are my favorite, but the 12th step, they're all, whenever I get to experience a promise, it's my favorite. You know, there's nothing like, I can be in a spiritual experience all day long if I choose. If I choose to stay in God's will and to be of maximum service, you know, by carrying the message, I can be there all day. That's the power of choice I have. And it's just absolutely amazing because almost 4 years ago, I was hopeless. I didn't know I was on the verge of making decisions that were going to you know, take me away from my children for almost 5 years. But it was because of the actions that I took after I got that DUI. And, you know, as a result of that, I'm okay with that today. because I don't think I'd be where I am today if I didn't have that DUI. And as a result of that DUI, I'm a felon. But you know what? God's got a plan for me as long as I do the next right thing. And I'm okay with all of that because I know the one who has all power. Because you guys gave me the book that led me to him, and he solved my problem. And I'm so thankful for that. And I'm so thankful for all of you for being such an instrumental part of my sobriety. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Alyssa. Hi, William.
Hi, my name is William Michael Waller. Good evening to everybody. Whenever we read the big book, it gives me a chance to reflect on my life, how I was when I got Alcoholics Anonymous, what happened, and where I'm at today. It's like a measure stick, for me, and I definitely identify with the having had a spiritual awakening as a result of this program, of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it worked. And I came here a person who had the disease, and suicidal, homicidal, all kind of issues going on in my life, And today I'm happy, joyous, and free from alcoholism, in that first paragraph that we read, it's talking about the having had this experience and the results of seeing other people come in here and do the same thing, And the happiness and the joy you feel when you see another alcoholic come in here and get sober, And I have felt that, because the reason why I felt that, because I empathize and I have sympathy for that person because I've been there and I know what it felt like. And I just told you what it felt like when I got there. It wasn't that I didn't have a good life. It's just I had alcoholism. I wanted more and more, everything, until I got depressed and I drank over and did everything else. And I'll read this other paragraph down here, because Bill's gonna go. He's gonna go through this, and it's one word is permanent with everything he say in here. It's one word that you can sum up. Whether he say, well, let me read it. He said, perhaps you are not acquainted with the drinkers who want to recovery. You could easily find some by asking for doctor, priest, or going to a hospital. They will be too glad to do so. Don't start out by evangelist, And that's mean don't go talking in the second person, talking in the first person. He's gonna use so many words to describe that, but the key to that is the first person. And then right behind that, he said, a reformer. A reformer. And you can learn from other people, and that's what it have done for me. I used to go to this group, this big group, early in recovery and stuff, and a lot of the old timers told me, said, you was too liberal, and that I was too liberal, But I realized, what I realized in that, through myself, if you don't put sobriety so high on the shelf that the newcomer can't reach it. Now, how I know that? I'm still attracted to newcomers. Everywhere I go, I'm still attracted to newcomers. I don't know. Not only to newcomers, I'm attracted to babies and a lot of other people too, whatever my spirit is right. When I go out there in the right spirit, I'm still attracted. Babies look at me and smile. People that I don't know look at me and speak to me and stuff like that. So I noticed about practicing this program, and it went on down, and only say you will become a handicapper, activate the disease. And what I learned about that, now I have had people that I work with, never got the program, had people who I work with, who got the program and went on with their life. 30 years. I was talking to one guy, 30 years, been sober with 30 years, but he went into another field and he didn't feel it necessary. I listen to what they say. I'm not judging you. I have to do what I have to do for me. And that's what this program has taught me to do that. I have people who have struggled with trying to get it. I struggle with it. I struggle with it for a long time. And I thank God for the struggle, because if I didn't struggle, I don't think I'd be it. If I could have come in here and did it like Kool-Aid, put some water in it, throw a little bit of sugar in it, and be gone, instant coffee or something like that, I wouldn't do it. I had to work for it. I had to show up every day, even when I didn't want to. I sure will. But the payoff is good. The payoff is good, you know. And it's talk about, now I'm uniquely qualified. For a long time, before I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I used to question God all the time. My brother was a preacher, my sister was a preacher, my other sisters was a secretary, my other brother's deacon in church. And I used to ask God, what is my purpose? God, you tell me what is my purpose? And I tell you, the first real purpose I ever felt was being an alcoholic and being in a community with people who were just like me. Because I was a misfit. All my life, I was a misfit in the family, in the neighborhood, in the school, everywhere I went. I felt like a misfit. One day I came in here and started hanging out with y'all, and I found the people that I belong, you know. And one thing I learned about this is how to unconditionally love. Now, just because you don't get it, I got people still call me. But I don't give them the time that I used to. I still talk about what I'm doing in my life. I'm still involved in Alcoholics Anonymous in all levels of AA. That's what I do. That's my life. That's my purpose. Now, a lot of other stuff came along with that, but that's my first purpose. And I stay true to it. A day at a time, I stay true to it. So definitely what we talk about tonight, give me a chance to look back at myself and see. And as you continue reading, I'm going to say, Bill was 6 months sober, and he went to Dr. Sipwood. So I can't get nobody sober. And that's when they told me, say, hey, stop preaching to people. Stop talking in the second person, talk in the person. Share your experience with them. Only somebody was glad that Bill was glad was Lois. Lois said, you keep doing what you're doing. I'm happy, man. You sober, you ain't drinking, you ain't killing yourself. But definitely it taught me how to always try to make myself feel nice. That don't mean I'm a pushover now. I still had the ism inside of me. If you rattle that cage, that monster will come out. I know that to be true. I don't like it myself, and I know you won't like it. So thank you. Thank you a lot for this.
Thank you, William. Hi, Xavier.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Xavier, recovered alcoholic. Just want to share some thoughts on this really powerful reading tonight. When it talks about nothing, well, so much is shared like communities working with another person or with other alcoholics, totally paraphrasing. That line really resonates. When I come into AA, I have a lot of self-centeredness, still do. Definitely struggle sometimes with humility. By sometimes, I mean always. Pretty much every minute of every day. This reading really gets at the heart of what we do in Alcoholics Anonymous. We help each other. For me, working with other alcoholics was always a game changer. After I went through the initial 12 steps, I thought, especially when I first walked in the room, I just need to fix myself, is really what I thought. And I soon realized that the real magic happens in AA when I really step out of my own head, and when I have an opportunity to help someone else, especially if they're struggling. Like, there's some magic that I'll never know how it works, but it does. It's not about me like just giving advice or just sharing my stories like war stories, but there's a lot more that goes into it, like listening, understanding. If I'm able to walk beside another human being like in a similar path, there's something really, really special to that. Literature does talk about, excuse me, my little kid will stop dancing in front of me, my apologies. Literature talks about like also having our shared experiences, and there's something that happens when somebody else has a similar AA experience that I do, or my background with alcoholism. Sorry, my 4-year-old will stop dancing. But when I can share about like how I felt, with regard to feeling lost, hopeless. I'm a funny kid. It can really help me get out of the darkness. And when somebody shared that with me, when I was getting sober, it was really special. I just want to finish, and my apologies, I have my 2 kids in front of me and I have to bring them upstairs soon. I love the part about humility, struggle with that. And I'm not really here I like how it talks about like we're not going to fix anyone. I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to judge. I'm really just here to be of service. You know, I'm really here to show up, suit up, and get into the action. So I know for myself, if I'm feeling down, feeling bad, maybe I should just call someone, see how they're doing. Thanks for letting me share. It's very difficult with little kids, but I do appreciate this meeting, and I always love to be part of it. So I'm always listening in the background. So thanks so much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, Xavier. Good to see you. Hi, Jamie.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and good to be with all of you tonight. Glad all of you are here. There's 3 models that I use for working for others. The first one is how Bill worked with Dr. Bob. The second is how Dr. Bob and Bill worked with AA number 3 and AA number 4, which is the cornerstone that led to the first 100 becoming recovered. Many of those people were atheists, many of them were agnostic, I'm sure, like many of us, filled with pride and ego and guilt and shame and all of those things. Yet they had such a passion for working with others because they knew that their very lives as ex-problem drinkers depended on it. Depended on it. And somebody touched on this, and here again in the first line tonight, practical experience shows us that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. The third thing that I use is this chapter as my guidelines for working with others. There is not a page in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that says, Jamie, this is the page you put the drink down on. Jamie, this is the page that gets you sober. I haven't found that page in my book. What I do know is that it is the practice of the first 11 steps and the continued practice, I will add. Because most people that I know who have done a one and done deal are absolutely miserable. Yep, I worked the steps, but let me tell you about that SOB over there. That's not recovery. That's untreated alcoholism. There's something really important in all of this stuff, folks. At least for me. I can't say what you need to do for you, but I can say for me. And a couple of our comments is, am I continuing to reach out? And I do. I know many people that are still drinking, but I still reach out in friendship to let them know that I'm here. And I'm the guy that does take those 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning drunken calls. And you know what? Every bit of sleep that I lose over it is absolutely every bit worth it. Because, 1, I get to stay sober. But you know what generally happens as a result of that? Might be a day or 2 later, might be a couple of weeks later, and I get a message from that person that says, thank you for never giving up on me, even though I'm not in. Sometimes I think that some of us forget how difficult it was for some of us to get sober, especially if we were chronic relapsers. And here's the truth. It's not my job to take somebody's inventory that I'm working with. It's only my job to hold the torch and light the pathway for them. And with that comes an extremely great and profound responsibility that my God has trusted me with. And that is to keep their confidentiality. I don't tell stories about other people. It's not my place to. And if I were to sit here and tell you stories about other people and situations that happen, whether they're in the rooms or not in the rooms, what might happen if they ever catch wind of those stories, they might not ever come back to Alcoholics Anonymous. My own pride and ego might keep someone from recovering. So I have to follow these guidelines. I have to be an example. Does that mean I don't give tough love to some people? Of course it doesn't. Sometimes that's necessary. But I'm just simply supposed to be a guide. If y'all were going to go on a river rafting trip down the Missouri River and follow the Lewis and Clark Trail, would you just get in a raft and go yourself, or would you trust a guide to lead you so that you could get to your destination and get through each day in safety? And hopefully that's what sponsorship does. Not everybody wants what we have. Not everybody comes to the point of surrender at the same time, and some of us are lucky we did. I am blessed with the fact that I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and stayed. But not everybody has. Some people it took 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So I know people it's taken 27 times before they finally got it. And who am I to criticize that, because it's an experience that they were supposed to have? Something in our lives has to happen. And I need to make myself available. So when I take those calls from those drunks at 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning, I know I'm talking to the alcohol. But here's what they'll remember. They'll remember that somebody cared enough to talk to them when they were in pain. That's planting seeds. I'm supposed to plant seeds. It may be Art or Larry or Trish that comes along and throws a little fertilizer on them. And it might be one of you others that puts a little water on them to help those seeds grow. I generally have a conversation at some point when working with others, and it comes right out of chapter 5, that there are those who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. There are very few cannots in this world. Most cannots are someone who has a brain disorder and can't process true from false. That puts most of us in the category of will nots. Nope, I ain't gonna do it. This is the way I believe. It's the way I've always believed. It's the way I'm always gonna believe. And in a very loving way, my comment to them is just simply this. There are 2 things that I can never give to any other alcoholic. The desperation of a drowning man, or the gift of willingness. Those things have to come from within. But if you have those things, I can give you my experience, and I can give you my time. And I can walk shoulder to shoulder with you on this journey, because it is not my place to walk above or below anyone, in front of or behind anyone in Alcoholics Anonymous. Just shoulder to shoulder. There is a lot of bad sponsorship out in the world of Alcoholics Anonymous, ladies and gentlemen. Should everyone try sponsorship? Absolutely. But there are folks and there's several people in here that I have sponsored, and they can tell you that I can flat out be an asshole sometimes. Come on, let's see all the hearts go up with that one. See, I'm telling the truth on me, but here's what happens with that. Is I learn how to be softer and gentler with others as I go through the process. Here again, I'm just a guide, and I don't tell anybody what they have to do. I ask them, are you doing this? And if they're not doing it, we try and figure out why. Many people will come to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and never do anything other than go to a meeting and complain about their problems. Will not reach out to help another alcoholic. And yet it is the insurance that guarantees our sobriety, along with the maintenance of a spiritual condition. And here's the thing. If I don't continue to practice the first 11 steps myself, let me get close to the camera, read my lips. If I don't continue to practice the first 11 steps, I am not in fit spiritual condition. And I'm certainly not in fit spiritual condition to help anybody else. I love Alcoholics Anonymous with all my heart. Today my mother would have turned 51 years sober if she would have lived. And it is that kind of love and tolerance that she showed me for 17 years while I was still in my disease that gave me the heart that I do and the love and passion that I do for working with others. It doesn't hurt me to take time to talk to someone who doesn't really want this program. If they don't really want it, they'll go away all on their own. I don't have to push them away. I don't have to be that guy. Because the day in their lives may come when they are so absolutely desperate and they feel like they can't come to Alcoholics Anonymous because somebody was rude and judgmental and harsh in their words towards them. I don't want to be that guy. This book does not tell me I get to be that guy. It tells me that I'm supposed to approach all others with an attitude of love, kind, patience, and tolerance. You know, we talk about, I talked about confidentiality for just a second, but I'm going to touch on this real quick. We always talk about anonymity. But anonymity and confidentiality are a couple of different things. If I were to share something that was somebody else's experience because it wasn't my personal experience to help another alcoholic, I would never do it in such a way that anybody would ever know who that person was. But some of the things that people have told me over the years, I need to take to my grave. I need to take my own moral values and set them aside, because when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous and I became a sponsor, nobody ever said I get to be a judge. And judgment is it's deadly to people. I am blessed that I had a sponsor that showed me exactly what these pages were by example in his own life. And no matter how messed up things were in my life, he gently guided me, sometimes nudged me, and never once in 34 years has that sponsor ever said anything abusive to me. And that's who we're supposed to become in Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, in our secretaries, or in our script, we talk about members of Alcoholics Anonymous becoming sponsors and should clearly recognize the responsibilities and duties of what it means to be a sponsor. If I can't live up to those responsibilities and duties, there's plenty of other service work in Alcoholics Anonymous for me. But God has blessed me with people. I don't chase anybody, but I also don't not contact them. If they don't want any contact with me, they'll tell me. But you would be surprised how many people, even though they might be struggling in their lives, even though they might struggle to get this, how appreciative they are that someone who's a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous cares enough to reach out and take the time and not sweep them into the gutter drain like they're trash. These pages teach me how to be a sponsor. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. I'm going to come in real quick before we close out. I'm Trish, I'm an alcoholic. And the one thing that really hits home with me, well, first, I've been on this, in this chapter on both sides. And while I didn't recognize it while I was still drinking, I had a friend of mine who was going through, sharing her story, her experience, strength, and hope, exactly how this chapter tells her to do it. And we spent hours together. And she was planting seeds, and she knew she was planting seeds. And when I finally became willing and ready, she was the one who was there for me to call to take me to my first meeting. And 2 months later, we lost touch, and I have no idea where she is, if she's alive, if she's sober, or anything. But, you know, that relationship we had for those couple of months, I know is what got me here. And I didn't recognize, or I did recognize after coming into the rooms and getting into the book, that she was doing exactly what this book tells us. And by planting those seeds, as the book says, that's how I got into the rooms to begin with. And I was always afraid to work with others. I was always afraid to sponsor other people because I was so afraid I was going to lead them wrong and screw them up, in my words. But then I got to the point where it says, just watch people recover, see them help others, watch their loneliness vanish, and see a fellowship grow up around me, and to have that host of friends. That's the experience I had when I finally became willing to try to start sponsoring people. Some have lasted a long time, some were short term, but, you know, we grew together. And, you know, I learned to be comfortable in what I was saying and how I was saying it. Knowing that it really wasn't anything I was doing, it was my relationship with God, talking to these ladies and their relationship with God, and again, planting seeds. And I have had opportunities, as that last comment Jamie had about working with families of alcoholics, where I have been the point of contact for spouses, for children, for siblings, to reach out and ask questions because they didn't know where else to go. And again, that's just a result of this book and of this program and being available and being willing to do and help others however it is God sees fit to have me help. I never expected that I was going to help people wander their way through, into and through Al-Anon, and some never went into Al-Anon. But, you know, alcoholic or not, if it's somebody who's struggling and they're reaching out and asking questions, and how do I do this? What do I do about this? I want to be available. I want to be able to help other people, even if it's not their alcoholism, but it's someone else's. And that willingness to help the alcoholics and the families only comes from being in the book, being in these rooms, talking with other people, learning from other people, and then taking that experience and taking that out to other people who I have had the honor and good fortune to meet and walk along with. So that's all I've got. And thanks for a great meeting. I'm so glad everybody's here. And Jamie, do you want to take us out?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. From page 164. And this is where we find our 12-step prayer. So the program doesn't end until this page. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you, Jamie. And thank you for everyone who was of service in the group and who shared with the meeting tonight. And I want to invite you all to help us to close out the meeting, since we can't stand around the table and hold hands. What we do in this group is we hold our hands up in the screen, and that's our way of connecting with each other. And we'll take a moment of silence for those still suffering inside and outside of these rooms, especially those who may die tonight, either because they haven't found their way to us, or because they came and they weren't ready, or they weren't willing, or they didn't hear something that could help and they left. So a moment of silence for those inside and outside of these rooms, and we'll follow that with the Lord's Prayer. Thank you. Who brings us from shame to grace if we let Him?
Our Father,
Our Father,
who art in
in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom
Thy
come,
kingdom come,
thy will be
thy
done
will be done
on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us this
Give
day
us
our
this
daily
day
bread,
our daily
and
bread.
forgive us our
Forgive us
trespasses,
our
as
trespasses,
we
as
forgive
we
those who
forgive those
trespass
who
against us.
trespass against
And
us.
lead us not
And
into
lead us not
temptation,
into
but deliver us from
Deliver
evil.
us from
For thine is
For thine
kingdom,
is
and the
kingdom,
power,
and the
and the
power,
glory forever
and the
and
glory.
ever.
And the glory.
Amen.
Forever and ever.
Amen.
Thanks for
Amen.
staying up with
Good
us,
night, everybody.
folks.
Thank you. It was a great meeting.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good to see everybody.
Stay focused.
Yes, it is.